few bits of news while I've been away that I wanted to comment on, and the big one was, for me anyway, was Hugh Edwards, the BBC newscaster, who walked free from court with a 6 months prison sentence, suspended for 2 years, for having 41 images of children, 7 of which were category A, which is severe abuse or sexual exploitation. Fortunately, I didn't see these. When I was in the police, I saw loads of these images, and to be honest, as a dad and as a granddad, it makes me want to vomit even thinking about the things that I've seen. To actually possess these, to share them, and to pay money for them, if you're that way inclined, is, for me, sick. I thought Hugh Edwards was married to Mick Hucknall for a minute. Anyway, he's split with his wife. She's got a bigger moral code than the judiciary in this country, that's for sure. So Hugh Edwards, who you may remember a while ago, was embroiled in this scandal with a now 21-year-old lad who apparently had been groomed for a few years and had been paid £1,500 a pop for dirty photographs of himself. That scandal blew over, washed under the carpet, and he was back on the BBC. Oh, it can happen to anyone. You know, a guy who works in B&Q, he could accidentally give 1,500 quid to a young lad for indecent photographs, but that's got washed under. Really, I suppose by BBC standards, that's almost angelic. So that was washed under the carpet, and Hugh was back on TV. Then all of a sudden, this comes up, doesn't it? I don't know how it was found out, if someone dropped him in it or whatever. But he had all these images, 41, 7 category A's. Now, when I think of some of the things I've seen lately, watching the footage of that London protest where the Metropolitan Police said pick one and were arresting people who were standing in the wrong place, reminds you of a satirical comedy programme, doesn't it? Stepping on the lines on the pavement, and we used to laugh at that. Well, now you'd put nothing past the Met under Starmer and under Sadiq Khan. I'd put nothing by them. They don't police by consent. They are a disgrace to Robert Peel. They really, really are. And so are a few other forces in this country. I think it's endemic that they've been indoctrinated. I think they've been infiltrated, and the judiciary certainly has been. So yeah, Hugh Edwards, he goes to court, and this Chief Magistrate, District Judge Paul Goldspring, who I first noticed when he said that the people that attacked Ian Duncan Smith were not guilty. I can't remember the full details of the case. They might have been Palestinian demonstrators, were they? Could well have been. Anyway, he got criticised at the time because someone thought he'd made a pro-Palestine remark. I'm not shocked if he did, but allegedly that was washed under the carpet. That's a reoccurring theme, it seems to be. So anyway, this Paul Goldspring, he took into consideration the fact that Hugh Edwards had gone guilty. Gave him a big thumbs up for that. Presumably, if you're caught with 41 images of kids on your phone, computer or whatever, how are you going to plead? They're on there. Unless someone else has downloaded them on there, you're going to plead guilty. You've not really got an awful lot of choice in that. And he also decided that Hugh Edwards, who'd had a previous scandal for paying this groomed kid, allegedly, £1,500 per photograph, he was a previous good character. He took that consideration as well. Now, previous good character and no criminal record are worlds apart, as we all know. Basically, what it means is you either are actually of good character or you haven't been caught. And if someone's paying kids for, well, not kids, it was an adult, wasn't it? But only just apparently when this relationship started. If you're paying them, I question whether you're of good character or not. He also took into account his mental health. Oh, poor you. His mental health. How comes he was reading the news with these bad mental health problems? Surely that would have noticed. I don't know what his mental health problems are, but he's got mental health problems. What about the parents of the kids who were abused? What about the relations if they'd gone into care? Because a lot of these kids are taken from care homes. What about their mental health? What about the children's mental health? And the judge, a judge, magistrate, call him what you want, has got the cheek to factor in Hugh Edwards' mental health. Where kids are involved, I'm sorry, it really gets me here. And don't forget, we've witnessed Starmer being head of the Department of Public Prosecutions. Savile got off, the grooming gangs brushed under the carpet, and there's old two-tier free gear Kia saying, oh, nothing to do with me, I was just head, it didn't come across my desk, oh no, nothing to do with me. And I wouldn't believe that bloke if he told me the grass was green. I'd have to look out the window. So yeah, I'm thinking to myself, well, Keir, when he was head of Department of Public Prosecutions, didn't seem to go that hard on renowned. This judge letting Hugh Edwards off so lightly, in my opinion, taking into account he pleaded guilty, taking into account, he goes, another thing they said in court is that Hugh Edwards had asked not to be sent any more underage photos. Well, perhaps 41's enough. Perhaps 7 category A is enough. I don't know. I don't know what a people's appetite is. So yeah, Hugh Edwards, 7 years on the sex register. Just 7 years. Why is that? What happens after 7 years? Do your perverted ways suddenly fizzle out? And 6 months jail time, suspended for 2 years. For me, an ex-police officer, the judge saying he's no danger to the public or children, rubbish. Rubbish. If someone is sick enough to have category A images in their possession and be sharing them or have them shared with them, then they're a danger to children. I'm sorry. But then I'm not a judge, am I? I'm just a normal person in the street who's got a moral code. And then it got me to look at some of these other judges who had sentenced people during the riots, and not just during the riots, during the protests. What was their thoughts on maybe kiddies being used or abused for gratification by, I'm not allowed to say the P word, am I? I've probably used it already. I'll have to blank it out. Well, here's a couple of examples. This is posted by Leilani Dowling on Twitter. A little bit of confirmation, and it took me a couple of minutes to confirm that these judges were in fact presiding over these particular sexual abuse cases. And let's have a look at a comparison, how they treat people who have rioted, observed a riot, and how they treat sexual predators, shall we? Judge Robert Linford sentenced David Maguire, 45, to 2.5 years in jail for spitting on police. Now, I'm an ex-police officer. I've been spat at and it's disgusting. But do I think that common assault basically is what that is classed as? Do I think that 2.5 years in jail for spitting is justified? No, I don't. Not in this world, not in any world. It's not very nice. If it was custodial and he'd got, I don't know, a couple of weeks, I might have been more inclined to see where the judge was coming from. But what actually makes it even worse is that Judge Robert Linford previously let a paedophile go with a community service sentence after he was caught with pictures of kids aged 2 to 16 in sexual poses because he had a constructive view of the future. What on earth does that mean? He should be in a cell. If you're a sick deviant with images of 2-year-old kids in sexual poses, I'm sorry, lock the key away. I mean, there are some people, not me obviously, that say someone like that should have a blowtorch on their balls, but yeah, I despair, I really do. No two-tier judiciary. These pawns of the state haven't been instructed to go down heavy on people who are just worried about their children's futures, worried about their grandmothers being able to eat and heat, just sick and tired of being ripped off by the establishment. And these sickos, these judges, in my humble opinion, are just as sick as the people they're letting go. Then we've got Judge Andrew Menery, who sentenced William Nelson Morgan, 69, to 32 months in prison, almost 3 years, for refusing to move out of the way of police officers. So he's been nicked for willful obstruction of the highway, basically. Almost 3 years. Menery previously let a who collected baby videos walk away with no jail time because his lawyer said he was of good character. Oh my God, what is wrong with these people? Judge Andrew Menery is sick. Oh, and so is the that he let walk for baby videos. Crikey, although it's alleged, I've not read the court files, but that Hugh Edwards had a 7-year-old boy being. These people are sick and they're complicit, in my humble opinion.
You can't believe it? Neither could I. I think that's probably the worst one, if I'm brutally honest.
Judge John Templey, unfortunately, I haven't got a photograph of this person who, in my opinion, is a charlatan, sentenced Billy Thompson, 31, to 12 weeks in prison for emojis online which incited racial violence. I've yet to see the emoji which incites racial violence. I should try and find out what he posted. Templey previously let a who had been stashing child abuse images walk from court because he had displayed remorse. While the offences crossed the custody threshold, I should think they did. Child abuse images whilst offences crossed the... What is the custody threshold? How low has that got to be for pictures of children being abused not to cross the custody threshold? The judge said he was satisfied that he could draw back from jailing Emmons and impose a community service sentence because there was a real prospect of rehabilitation. Makes me sick in the pit of my stomach. Over in Ireland, we've got this Judge Neil Rafferty. He said that people that were involved or observing a riot, if they were arrested, they wouldn't get bail. So presumably, if you stand on your doorstep and you watch a riot, you can get nicked and you can get held on remand. Meanwhile, that's bizarre enough. This guy, to me, just my opinion, is clearly a wall short of a brick. But he previously let a man convicted of raping his vulnerable niece, who was intoxicated at the time, walk free from court because he was remorseful. His niece, his drunk niece, he raped her, and he's walked out of court because he's remorseful. What does that say about the morals of this supposed judge? should be struck off immediately. Judge Mark Berry sentenced Brandon Kirkwood 20 to 2.5 years in prison for pushing a large wheelie bin at police. Now, as I say, I'm an ex-police officer, and none of this is nice behaviour. And rioters who are actually burning stuff and setting fire to buses and cars and turning over, they should have the full force of the law thrown at them. But pushing a large wheelie bin at police, 2.5 years. I'm sorry, I don't see that. But that's not the part that I find absolutely shocking. Judge Mark Berry recently let a person walk free with a recommendation to go get some fresh air instead of collecting child abuse images. I suggest you get out more. Judge's words to a man found with stash of indecent images. If you've got pictures of children being abused, you've got a bigger problem than not getting out more. You're a sicko. You should be in prison. Because if you've got images, what's the next step? And you've got to wonder about this judge. Why does he feel someone who's being aggressive with a wheelie bin deserves 2.5 years, but someone who's got no problem looking at images of child abuse and stashing them can walk free from court? Tells you everything about the moral code of the judge, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying that judges are favourable to these people, but it could, to some people, appear that way, couldn't it? So that's what we're dealing with, folks. I started off looking at you, Edwards, and it just sort of, I went down a rabbit hole, and there we are. And BBC chief Tim Davie says it's very unlikely that you, Edwards, will work for him again. Oh my God, very unlikely. He won't be getting a job on CBBC's, will he? Very unlikely. What is wrong with these people? I don't know what to say. Some of these people, in my humble opinion, which I think you're still entitled to under Starmer, shouldn't be judges, shouldn't be anywhere near a courtroom, shouldn't be anywhere near the human race in some cases. But that's just me. Let me know what you think about the Hugh Edwards, in my opinion, debacle. Let me know what you think about the judiciary. Does it need an actual review? I certainly think it does. I'd like to know your thoughts. That's why I do these. Please subscribe to the channel. Please throw the video a like, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.